Hey, girl gang, and welcome to a special summer episode. Y'all, I'm so pumped about today's episode because I get to give you a little bit of just a behind the scenes, uncut, unedited, raw, what's going on with the Browns. And as I'm sitting down to record this, it is actually pouring down rain and lightning is popping everywhere. And if y'all can hear that thunder, y'all, it is intense. So I'm like, hopefully I don't lose my internet connection. But Leighton is at Stanford soccer camp. Go Bulldogs. You know, that's Eric and I's alma mater here in Birmingham, Alabama. I've got a babysitter with Finn going to pick him up in this rainstorm, bless it. And so I thought I'd just pop on and say hello and tell you that I'm so pumped about this episode upcoming because the back half of this episode we'll be talking all about red light, but I really just haven't had a chance where it's been, close to production time to be able to give y'all an update until today. Let's see. I kind of wanted to share with y'all a little bit about my life update about getting my Christian health coach certification. If you didn't know, I started that probably about 3 months ago now and studied every waking moment, took my study materials into the sauna with me, took it in the car with me in carpool. If I had a nook and cranny of time, I was in this workbook, reading, studying, underlining, highlighting, all the things, completely enamored with this course. It's the Biblical Health Institute Biblical Health Coach Training Program by Jordan Rubin. If you're not familiar with him, buckle up because he is actually like the premier, I would say, health and wellness guru in the Christian space. When I saw that he had a course available, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, because he talks so much about mind, body, and spirit health, which y'all know I'm so passionate about. I always think it's fun when you get to see a little bit of a behind the scenes of something like this. And since some of y'all are also health nerds like me, I thought you would appreciate seeing that. If you're interested in doing the course, definitely reach out to me on Instagram at Healthy by Heather Brown or email me info@healthybyheatherbrown.com and I can send you information on it and get you $100 off the course and just some different things, tell you more insight. Essentially, I loved how he opened up the course. It's with Colossians 1:19-22, and it states, "For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, Christ, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his," aka Christ's, blood shed on the cross. When you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior. But now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight without blemish and free from accusation. Then it says, spiritually, the gospel is salvation. Mentally and emotionally, the gospel promotes a sound mind. Physically, the gospel gives us insight on how to be good stewards of the body temple. In scripture, salvation is holistic, affecting every part of who we are. The term reconcile literally means to make peace, and God makes peace in our lives, giving us his peace and putting every broken part of our body, mind, and or spirit back together. I just read that and was like, oh my gosh. I mean, y'all, you should have seen me. Like, I was weeping and praying over deciding to do this course and then reading parts of it, just being like, yes, Lord, like this is what I so want to lean into and encourage the girl gang with week after week coming onto this podcast. That is always my hope and dream, is that I'm coming alongside you and encouraging you in mind, body, and most importantly, spirit health. So Jordan's talking in this course and he says, God showed me 7 key areas to focus on in order to offer our best to him. 1, eat to live. Know what foods give our body life. 2, supplement your diet with whole food nutritionals, living nutrients, and superfoods. You need to understand that diet alone cannot give us all the nutrients that we need. Number 3, practice advanced hygiene. Cleanse areas most susceptible to health invaders like bacteria, germs, etc. Some of the facts and knowledge bombs that he dropped about how other countries use essential oils in their hospitals on the regular to help with minimizing germs and such that we don't use in the States. I was just like, what? It was so fascinating, y'all. Okay, then number 4 is condition your body with exercise and body therapies. Keep your body temple strong and healthy through exercise and other healthful activities. Number 5, reduce toxins in your environment. Minimize exposure to and contact with dangerous chemicals. Talked about EMFs, all the things that are in our sky, our water, our sprayed on our crops, glyphosates, all the things. Number 6, avoid deadly emotions. Avoid emotions that cause you ill health. And even just the tie-ins that he made scientifically and the studies that he quoted about how your emotions affect even your heart health, specifically your mental health, all these things that we talk about here on the show. Fascinating. Number 7, live a life of prayer and purpose. Daily communication with God helps you find out his design for your life based on your gifts, passions, and talents. So you can see already how I was like, yes, Lord, I am bought in. I'm so excited. The things that I learned in that course, I mean, the whole book is covered in highlights. I am so pumped about deepening the knowledge I already have been building here just by asking questions, and then also to be able to bring more of it into the show coming up in the following season that'll be back once school gets back in session. I basically dove deep into topics like inflammation, gut health, fasting, functional medicine, elimination protocols, but all from a biblical perspective. Not new age, nothing woo-woo, not just like what's trendy, but really what is going to stand the test of time from the Bible, rooted in truth and science and working with the body that God created. Ultimately, God didn't design our bodies to be basically microwave with all these crazy EMFs and chemicals and things that were in this toxic soup, the things that we're eating on our food that don't make sense, being on your phone all the time. God did not design our bodies to handle all that. It taught me so much about just how to detox and how to try to live more closely to how God designed our bodies and our minds and our spirits to optimally serve him and serve others and love others the way that he has called us to. One of my biggest takeaways is that our mind, body, and spirit are completely connected, even more than I realized before. When we steward our bodies well, the others flourish too. I call that the triple threat triangle of mind, body, and spirit health. It's something that I'm even more pumped about teaching and living out more now than ever. The certification has already opened up doors for me to start doing a little bit more of some of the things that I had started. I have been leading stretch and prayer sessions at different conferences, podcasting conferences, at women's retreats, at churches. I love speaking at churches and women's events. I had the best time with my friend Brent. We've gotten to MC a few things together, and that's been really fun, or be on panels or be a panel interviewer for different conferences. I would love to add you and or your church, your small group, your women's ministry, or, local girl gang, your neighborhood get together, your MOPS group. I would love to add y'all to my calendar for this upcoming fall, winter, next year. I would love, love, love to get to just come and meet more of you in person. That's something that is near and dear to my heart, especially if you're somewhat close to Birmingham, Alabama. Obviously, that makes it a little bit easier for me, but I'm certainly open to other options as well. So if you have been thinking about trying to plan a women's event or something like that in your churches, I'd really love to be there to help moms like you make real, lasting change in your daily rhythms, those habit stacks, without the shame or the hustle. Be able to give you tangible tools that can help you level up your health and what it means to walk that line as a believer. If you've been craving a more faith-filled, natural, empowered approach to your health, please stay tuned, because what's coming next, I think you're going to want to hear about, and I definitely want you guys in on all those things. If you are interested in going ahead and booking me, then please email me. It is info at healthybyheatherbrown.com, or you can go to the show notes if you would like to go ahead and fill out my speaking or coaching inquiry form. I have that down there for you guys. That's my major update. And also I wanted to tell y'all, Eric has been so busy with work, a lot going on. My brother-in-law is getting married this summer. Eric is obviously in the wedding. I'm in the wedding. The boys are in the wedding. Just so many family things going on behind the scenes. We're looking to get a dog somewhat soon, so that's exciting. Just been traveling to Tampa to see family, but with all those things that have been changing a lot recently, especially around Eric and his work and schedules and timing and location of work, we have not been able to have him as much on the show recently for Marriage Corners, which makes me sad. So next season, he might be on there a little bit less. I always tell him that y'all love to have him on the show whenever he does get back in a better place of a balance with all those things. Anyway, I want you to mark your dates for Amazon Prime Days, July 8th through 11th. We're going to be having tons of giveaways to celebrate with Amazon gift cards, coffee cash, money to help you guys really maximize those things that maybe you use every day that are going to be on sale on Amazon, or go ahead and start buying Christmas gifts, back to school teacher gifts, summer activities for your kids, back to school supplies. I stock up usually on my teeth whitening strips for the year on Prime Day. When garbage bags that we already use go on sale, I get them. Then a lot of times they'll put subscribe and save deals on some of my kids' favorite like lunchbox items. So I'll just stock up for the beginning of the school year while I can get them on sale. Oh, another life update. Eric turns 40 June 29th, and then I turn 40 in November. We have actually booked a trip to Greece. So that'll be really fun to celebrate our 40th birthdays and just to get to have that time alone, just us two after such a stressful, crazy, busy year. I mean, air conditioner unit breaking downstairs, then it breaking upstairs, the cold plunge went on the fritz. I'm telling y'all, there's just been so many random little things. You know how life just life sometimes, life be lifing. Back to Amazon Prime Days. I'd love to have you guys join my email list. I'll put the link down there where we're going to be sending out the best of the Amazon deals. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you don't miss any of those giveaways we are doing. Insider access to those secret giveaways are in the show notes down below. Last but not least, I just have to say this because I feel like as women, sometimes we can be like, I don't need to brag on that, or that's silly, or I don't need to celebrate that. But I do just want to say I'm really excited to celebrate the Make Wellness peptides I have been taking. I think I've shared it with you. I started them last October. I've been taking the Lean and the Fit every single day. I am hitting PRs in the gym I have never hit before. I went from doing 35-pound dumbbells on each side for the chest press. Now I'm up to 50 pounds, 100 pounds total on chest press. Like what? I now can get 4 pull-ups unassisted. Unbelievable. And I'm not as sore as what I used to be at Burn Boot Camps. It's crazy to me that I'm doing more, hitting more PRs, but I'm not as sore as I was before. That is truly crazy. The peptides are literally magic. I am so impressed by the way they're working for me and my body, especially as someone who's about to turn 40, hitting these PRs and not being as sore. It doesn't make sense. Longevity is muscle, y'all. Like muscle is longevity. Longevity is muscle. Muscle is so important, and fit is almost like a cheat code to help you keep the muscle you have and to keep building, because the older you get, the harder it gets to keep muscle on. I so want to encourage you that if you're not weight training yet, please start. Even if you just start 2 days a week. That's what I told my mom the other day. Even if you just do it 2 days a week or 3 days a week, start with low weights, but you've got to do it to help your body be able to stay strong, to lift those babies, to keep the endurance, all the things. I love, love, love the Make Wellness peptides. I would love to have any of you that have been interested in making some side hustle income or up to a full-time income with Make Wellness. You can join me as an affiliate. It's so simple. We literally have a 30 minutes to launch program where you just go and you literally can launch your business within 30 minutes. Teaches you everything you know. You got your links. We've built out the graphics for you. Everything is done. It's so amazing. If you're interested in either earning anywhere from some fun lunch and family dinner out money per week up to like I'm paying for my mortgage type money, that's what people that work with me in this Make Wellness industry are making. One of my dear friends, she was like, I have already paid our mortgage for the year selling Make Wellness peptides. And the side bonus is that I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm losing weight. I was thinking about getting on a GLP-1 and I'm not, because I got on the Lean and the Fit. Highly, highly encourage you to check out these Make Wellness peptides. I love that they're more about longevity. I'm shocked by the quick results. I have gotten over 6 months of the PRs with the Fit, but also this is going to be lifetime type wellness where it's helping your body. It is literally the key that unlocks and helps your body work optimally. So Make Wellness links down in the show notes as well, or I have a whole highlight on my Instagram called Make. You can go click through it. I also have one called Biz or Work With Me. More details there as well. But let's get ready to talk about today's guest, y'all. So I'll hope you enjoyed this little like mini update with me for, the last 15 minutes, but let's get into the meat of what's coming up. So Today, we are lighting things up, literally. You've probably seen red light therapy all over wellness blogs and crunchy Instagram reels. But what if I told you it's not just hype? It's actually one of the most powerful natural tools we've got for reducing inflammation, speeding up healing, and even supporting hormone health without popping a single pill. Y'all, I've been using red light for years behind the scenes on everything from my kids' ear infections to boosting energy, balancing stress, helping with my hormones. But I've never really brought it to the podcast till now. And y'all, it is time. Joining me on the show is Forrest Smith, the brilliant mind behind Kineon, the red light company that's actually making clinical grade therapy affordable and wearable for busy moms, dads, athletes, and anyone trying to ditch the Advil and feel their best the natural way. If you're curious about healing from the inside out, ditching big pharma band-aids, seeing if it can help with infertility or even perimenopause, and supporting your body the way God designed it to heal, you're going to love this conversation. So let's shine some light on the future of wellness with Forrest Smith. All right, Forrest. So I just told everybody a little bit about who you are and how obsessed I am with red light. So tell us a little bit about Kineon, the name. Where did that come from, and how did you get interested in red light?
That's a great question. The Keneon is one of those things that came up kind of last minute. We've been shipping products for almost 3 years now, but 2 weeks before we started shipping products, we were still called Revive Light as a company. And we had a cease and desist lawsuit basically 2 weeks before we started shipping our first product, and we had to rebrand kind of overnight. We generated a bunch of ideas internally, but we took those to our users and said, we had actually done a crowdfunding kind of launch for the product. And we said, hey guys, what do you like the best? What resonates with you the best? And Kineon comes from the Greek for movement. And we were getting people out of pain and back into movement, and it really resonated with our community. And so that's what we went with. That's what they told us, and that's what we went with. And it's been great. I feel like we've shipped 50 to 60,000 products worldwide at this point, and we get all these great testimonials in about exactly that kind of, I couldn't walk up the stairs. I couldn't, I was having to shorten my walks. I couldn't run anymore because of pain in my joints and things like this, or even to the point where I couldn't sleep through the night for 10 years because of chronic pain, and now I can. And so the movement piece seems to have resonated and carried itself on.
I love it. You also just gave us like a mini pro business tip. Your customers always right. Lean into them for all the things product. So that's awesome. I love hearing those kind of testimonials, but take us back to the basics. Forrest, tell us, how did you find out about red light? Maybe what was the first reason that you used it? And then for the people that are like, what do you mean? Like just put a red light up in your like, light fixture? Will that do the same thing? Like educate us a little bit if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Actually, it's a funny story. My mother's always been an early adopter for any kind of interesting new thing that was out there. And oftentimes I spent a lot of time in medical and medical research, essentially physiological research. And so a lot of times I get to play the part of kind of getting her out of things that are maybe a little bit less effective and less ethical. And so that's the role I took with the red light as well, is like there couldn't be science behind this. Like shine a laser on your body and like you get these great outcomes. That's crazy. And I went on a deep dive into it. And what I found was that there was really a powerful level of medical research supporting this. And primarily around 4 points. One is reduced inflammation, reduced oxidative stress, increased blood flow, and increased levels of cellular energy production. And we hear more about this now from a mitochondrial, like why, what makes you healthy, mitochondrial health, how to take care of your metabolism. But it really, this is something that people really hadn't connected as much to red light at the time. And so that sent me down that rabbit hole into the medical research side of things. But what I found when I wanted to go buy a product for this was that there were great clinical products available, $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 on a desktop, plug into a wall, and they were built for clinicians to be able to apply to their patients. But what we found from the use case for the actual technology is if you can use it on a daily basis, the outcomes that you can get in a clinic, you can actually improve on those because you can have a more consistent treatment program. And when you reduce inflammation and enhance the cellular level energy production, that carries a lot of weight in your body from a health standpoint. It's almost kind of like the opposite of getting towards metabolic disorder and diabetes. It kind of pushes you back towards the healthy side of that spectrum. When we had researched into this, I'd met my business partner in that meantime. The deep dive into the physiological side and being able to prove out that this was actually working for people, but that it just wasn't widely adopted because it's too expensive, gave us the impetus and the motivation to go build a company to do that. We defined our mission instead of, we've both been building companies for a very long time. And instead of just kind of building a company for financial outcomes, what we decided to do with Kineon was to make it a mission-driven company. And so we defined our mission as improving the quality of life for the largest number of people we can in the most substantial and measurable way we can. And we've got a technology that really does that now. And it's amazing. It's getting people away from pharmaceuticals, from opioids, from NSAIDs, from really some of the damaging things that you can do to your body when you are in pain and you don't have another solution. And the red light therapy has been a really amazing way to help people in that situation.
Well, and Forrest, it's so wild how many people live with chronic pain every single day. I mean, it feels like the numbers are exploding. And I do think a lot of it does come back to the root cause that you're pointing to, where it's like, well, actually, this is a cellular level. It's not an injury, but it's really things that are adding up over time and compounding within your body. And so to be able to have this device within your own home, and your device is so targeted, that's one of the things that really stood out to me. So you guys, do you have one of the devices so you can hold it up in case,
yes,
so we
actually,
can show it on
they get stolen. My kids and my wife steal it all the time.
Well, it's actually really funny that you said that about your kids and your wife stealing them all the time, because y'all, he was so kind to send me one to try out. And I literally got so pumped to try it, and I charged it up and I was like ready to use it. No, my husband stole it first. So he hurt his knee at the gym. And so he used it literally every day, drained it of all the battery. And so I'm like, golly, I've got to like plug it back in and actually use it myself because he stole it.
It happens at our house all the time. And we have a new strap system that actually has made it easier to use as well. And whenever like I put it down anywhere, I can't find it, and it comes back to me the same way, just drained of batteries. But it's 3 different modules with lasers. And again, to your point, we've spent tens of thousands of hours. Our head of technology is a particle physicist, PhD. Our head of physiology is a bioinformatics PhD, MIT guy. So we have a really strong team, and how we've gone about approaching the design for the product, I think is a little bit different than anybody in the market. We've taken clinical level treatment, and our goal for this was to remove the friction points, because you can't carry a big, desktop device around with you. And if you have to plug it into the wall, you're only going to be able to use it in one place. So we felt like if we can reduce the friction points and make it easy to travel with, easy to use, easy to charge, that people would use this because they're going to see the benefits for it. So that's what we've done with the device, is made it modular. So you can target as effectively as possible for your internal tissue. Most of the products that we see in the market right now that are commercial level, that are sold through Amazon or sold on the websites, are typically kind of large panels that are terrible for treating kind of superficial skin tissue or wound healing and things like this. But they're not very good at getting to the inflammation that you might have from, say, osteoarthritis, or from an injury to your knee or your neck or lower back pain and things like this. So we've spent a lot of time essentially modeling how photons distribute through your tissue mathematically, and then testing that in reality, and then seeing, what are we seeing in reality versus what our model says, and how do we close the gap? And we've just done that, hundreds of times now with different user trials. And what that does is we target specific, with the light, we're targeting specific photoacceptors in the body. And it works in a way that's fairly similar to how pharmaceuticals work. You have a signaling pathways in your body. And as an example, our infrared lights target hemoglobin and can remove nitric oxide from the hemoglobin so that dumps into your bloodstream. And nitric oxide is a dilation factor, so it makes your blood vessels larger, and it delivers more oxygen and more blood because of that to the area. And that's one of the 9 different photoacceptors that we target. But I think it's a good example that we give of, this is how you see intuitively people understand that, light into the body actually does make physiological changes. If you sit out in the sun, you can get sunburned, as an example. But there's a number of other types of photoacceptors in the body that actually have much better health outcomes. And so that's what we do, is we build systems that target these photoacceptors and trigger, again, those main 4 points of decreased inflammation, increased blood flow, increased cellular level energy production, and actually, I've just lost the last one. But
I think you said reducing oxidative stress. Was that one of
that's
them?
exactly right. Yes, that's right.
Will you break it down like we're 5 years old? What does it mean to use the red light to reduce oxidative stress? Like, how is that different than regular stress? Just like, help us out.
No, it's a great question. I think one of the things that we see, though, is that there's so much environmental. So it is a part of regular stress. If you have high levels of stress in your life, your cellular interpretation of that is you will see increased levels of oxidative stress in the cells. But you can also, if you're overtraining, we work with the U.S. Olympic weightlifting team. We work with a lot of professional athletes, people who put a lot of stress on their body, NFL, NBA, down to ultra marathoners and the other side of the spectrum, professional golfers and tennis players. But the commonality between them is that they are putting stress repetitively on certain parts of their body. So if you're looking at an ultra marathoner, they didn't start at the ultra marathon. They started at a 5K and then worked their way up. But as you work your way up, your body adapts to this. And if you'd like to be able to have your body adapt faster, the stress that you're putting it under can be good for you. So you're lifting weights, you're doing resistance training, you're taking your 5K to a 10K. All of that does increase levels of stress on your body. What you'd like your body to do is be able to recover from that faster. And that's what the laser therapy does, is it really helps you target the internal tissue that could flare up with golf or tennis elbow or with Achilles tendonitis or patellar tendonitis. Depending on what you're training, this actually helps protect the tissue and get it through the inflammatory processes faster than you would otherwise. And we measure that very carefully with things like creatine kinase and C-reactive proteins, which are muscle inflammatory markers that can cause soreness ongoing, but that also can limit you from going back into training as fast as you would like to. And so those aren't useful inflammatory pathways. Those are just limiting ones. And that's what we target with the red light there.
I think it's so important too, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I'm just a mom of two. I'm not really an ultra marathoner or an Olympian athlete. I think it's important to say for us that people are using red light for things like hormonal headaches, to healing your C-section scars. So like, I know I have a friend who has, I can't remember if it's Hashimoto's, but something going on with her adrenal glands. She was like, I feel better when I use the red light every day. Like I use it for my kids when they have an ear infection. My little boy just got a huge gash on his eye. So we treat the red light to help expedite that healing. So I don't want you to hear him say that and think, oh, I don't really need red light. I'm like, no, this is for everyone.
It's such a great point. We actually, it's a strange product because on one side we are dealing with the professional athletes, but one of the most exciting groups of people that we work with is our kind of aging population as well. And myself included, I'm squarely in the middle of midlife. And, there's a number of tools out there that our parents' generation didn't have. And because of that, they couldn't carry on in a way that allowed them to be healthy longer. And I think there's so many great things happening. There's a lot of media focus on the negative impacts of doom scrolling and attention and all of the negative impacts of technology. But it's really exciting to be in the middle of this where we can see really powerful impacts and changes in people's lifespan. So how long you can continue building muscle. As we get older, we start losing muscle mass. This actually helps you continue maintaining muscle longer. To your point, the kids are yes.
What?
Absolutely.
Y'all, whoa. I'm like, this is a big deal because we always talk on here about muscle is your longevity. That's how you're going to stay younger for longer. So can you go into that a little bit more? Like, what is that? Explain it. I'm like, I'm lost and I want to know more.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's part of that mitochondrial piece where when you keep your mitochondria healthy, you're actually able to generate energy and repair your muscle tissue, general tissue as well, but just muscle tissue in specific in this case. And so again, that's one of the reasons why we're working with the U.S. Olympic weightlifting team is because they'd like to be able to generate, to train themselves harder and still have their tissue protected so that it's not as susceptible to injury and build muscle and strength longer term. And so that's essentially one of the kind of main things that we see, particularly with our older and aging populations is, my parents, for example, are in their 70s. At that point, you're looking at muscle wasting and sarcopenia. You have to increase the levels of protein uptake, you have to do some resistance training, but you also have to make sure that you're using something to recover from that as effectively as possible and maintain that muscle levels. That's a big one for us as well. The other thing that we find, though, is, and again, I have the same thing, old injuries for me keep me from doing my training. And so I have a torn meniscus, and I tore some muscles in my back grappling when I was younger, competitive grappling. That will flare up. Right now, I still haven't completely embraced my midlife kind of status. So I'm still training CrossFit.
Same.
Don't
I'm with you on that.
fight against the dying of the light, as they say. But it's something that you can continue. I'm training CrossFit, and I'm playing rugby still at 46 this year.
Get it.
Those are both sports where you're really taking heavy trauma to your body, heavy impacts, and the recovery that we have at my age isn't the same as it was. I'm playing with a bunch of guys who are 20, and the next day they're fine. I have to have a little bit of support in getting back to that baseline. And so those recovery processes and being able to heal your tissue, to grow muscle faster, and to recover, and really to limit that inflammatory impact on your health is just so powerful.
Absolutely. I am curious, Forrest, for the mom who's listening, who is juggling inflammation, fatigue, joint pain, can you break down how long is it going to take her to treat those kind of things? How much time are you spending with the red light device? Kind of walk us through the specifics, if you don't mind.
So I would say that the easiest way to do this is to stack it as a habit. And we kind of promote that with our users to find something that you're already historically doing every day. A lot of times we say stack habits, and it's great to have aspirational habits. So as an example, we'll do a coaching session with people and say, hey, let's do this as a habit stacking protocol. And they'll say something like, oh, well, should I do it with my meditation? If you've just started meditation and that's something that you've done once in the last 2 weeks, that's more of an aspirational habit.
Right.
You can do this with Netflix too. So if historically, let's look at the last 2 weeks. What have I done every day? If it is Netflix, it's okay. For me, it's coffee and emails in the morning. That's something I do every day. And so I treat my left knee and my lower back because one of the things that we've seen from the medical literature on this is when you have traumatic tissue damage, like a torn meniscus or a torn muscle, that could have been 20 years ago. And for me, it was. That's still going to generate inflammation and cause you to re-injure that area much more frequently if you're not treating it ongoing. And it also has systemic impacts, a negative impact for your cardiovascular health and everything.
Yeah.
The other thing I do every morning, and we've developed this with a really ahead of the curve Japanese lab that does really great research around this. We're doing something that they've termed the proximal priority therapy. And so I do that every morning. We started it a year ago, and I had such a good experience with it that it just carried on naturally without me really even noticing. But that's essentially putting the device, applying the 2 vertical modules over the largest blood vessels in your body.
Okay.
Treating for 15 minutes here, and then treating for 15 minutes on the lower gut. So about an inch below the navel.
Okay.
And the impacts for this are really powerful. So the immediate impacts are improved levels of nitric oxide in the body and decreased levels of inflammation systemically. And how that presents longer term is the impacts that generates longer term are increased levels of neurotransmitters that you'd like to see, like dopamine and serotonin and brain-derived neurotrophic factors. So different things that actually help you feel less brain fog and feel more alert and more aware, and actually just more cognitively perform better at a cognitive level.
Yeah.
The second thing that's really powerful for this is the immune and autoimmune impacts. And so we're actually working on grants with different research groups because we've just seen amazing impacts particularly with the gut and neck, and we're adding in a brain treatment for it as well, for things like multiple sclerosis and asthma, which are kind of autoimmune disorders that really don't have a great kind of pharmaceutical solution. And the impact for these has been really powerful. And the last thing out of these, and it's both my own personal experience, but it also lines up perfectly with the research in the space, is immune health. I've got a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. They drag in colds from school all the time. And it used to be, up until about a year ago, that they would drag it in, and then 3 days later, I'm sick or my wife's sick or whatever, and then it kind of clears out of the whole family. I haven't been sick in a year. And again, this is exactly in line with what we're seeing from the gut improvements. We work with a number of different gastroenterologists and immunologists, and there's a good overlap between them because your gut is just kind of the center of your health. So yeah, getting much better immune health, getting much better cardiovascular health, and then the mood lift is the last thing. Those neurotransmitters, it takes about 2 weeks to get there. You have to kind of treat in for the first 2 weeks, but that neurotransmitter impact, you just feel great on a daily basis, and it's much easier to maintain the program because you notice when you don't.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you guys basically in Red Light are the secret weapon for long-term energy, anti-aging, gut health, immunity. I'm like, what? This is incredible. You're even teaching me so many things that I'm like, I already was excited I was doing Red Light, but now I'm like, man, I really am like killing it, guys. So Forrest, and that you said specifically is from wearing it around your neck. That's the touch point for 15 minutes and then on your gut for 15 minutes.
That's
is
right.
That correct? Okay.
That's right. 15 minutes on each of these daily. And again, within 2 weeks, we've had something like we do good follow-up with a number of our users on this before we start releasing the protocols.
Okay.
And it was something like 91% of those saw that really powerful mood uplift.
Dang, that's incredible. And I feel like, especially since our culture is so currently struggling, especially here in the US with depression, anxiety, I don't think it's worth like skimping over that. That's a huge deal. So I mentioned obviously that I use the Red Light on my kids. And specifically, I think the coolest thing that I have gotten my boys off of is antibiotics for ear infections. We used to go to the doctor, you have an ear infection, here's an antibiotic. Like that was what happened every time. Now, since I've started using the Red Light on my boys, and then I also have started doing like swimmer's ear when needed, and then I'll dilute like lavender oil and tea tree oil and some coconut oil and rub it around their ears. That's just what's working for us. I even had a very crunchy mom be like, and you know what? Like, obviously I don't love giving my kids cough medicine, but she said it also just helps like dry up and drain some of that out of their ear. And I'd rather do that than an antibiotic. So if you're a mom listening to this and you're like, okay, you're willing to do Red Light on your kids, but I guess, is there anything that you recommend for someone that's listening to this that's either breastfeeding or pregnant or their kids? Like, how would you advise officially how to use for your kids or
Absolutely.
certain situations?
So there's really good protocols, and we have a number of these on our site. We try to do, we've got a blog for education on different kind of applications for it.
Great.
But if you've had a C-section, one of the really interesting use cases for laser therapy and red light therapy in general is reducing the size of scars and making them more pliable. So essentially you just your body creates tissue when you treat it like this that's more similar to the original tissue. And because of that, it's less stiff and it's more pliable, and it's less likely to be re-injured. But it's also, there's an aesthetic piece to it as well. It just gets smaller and less noticeable. And so we've seen really, really good testimonials from a number of our users who are using this for C-section recovery. We also have a number of people, and this is actually how we came into contact with the Japanese lab I mentioned earlier. From a fertility standpoint, is there's a number of different things that, so their first trial, we reached out to them after their first trial and before the second one, but the first trial was 229, I believe, women who were infertile and had been for at least 5 years. And had tried a number of different interventions, but doing this neck and gut treatment, 27% were able to get pregnant, and 22% had a healthy delivery. And that's just incredible. And they've actually updated it based on some of the work we've done with them on a dosing standpoint. The second study was even more successful in the 40% and over 400 women. And so these are repeatable and meaningful changes from a fertility standpoint. And part of that's the hormone impact that you mentioned earlier. I think it's worth noting with the Hashimoto's as an example. My business partner has Hashimoto's, and there was very good early literature from a research standpoint around applying the combination of laser therapy and vitamin D and selenium. So there's a full protocol that's available for this that increases the functionality of the thyroid. And it's also something where we see, and we've done a few talks about this recently as well, with perimenopause and menopause, there's a huge number of women, a huge percentage of women who have hypothyroidism. And it really can impact a number of different aspects of the life, from energy to weight gain to just the hormonal pathways. When you start seeing these big swings, they have a very, very strong impact on the quality of life. You can actually take that back up with those protocols, with the treatment protocol, with the lasers and the supplements together, massively back up to the natural levels of thyroid function. And so getting out of hypothyroidism is crazy. Yes. And it's crazy that no one knows. It's crazy that we're making these products. And it was something that like one of our research partners brought to us, and we had to go dive further into to help build the protocols for it. But the outcomes are just amazing.
So, Forrest, if you don't mind, will you send me links to either any blog posts or protocols that y'all have done on those studies so I can link them in the show notes for everybody to look at afterwards?
100%.
I feel certain they're going to want to read all that and deep dive into it for sure. I'm like, I do. I'm like, perimenopause, here I come. So yes. Wow, that's incredible. So let's see. I did want to ask you one last question, and then I'll ask you the closing question that I ask everybody. So what areas of the body do you think most people target first with red light? And are there any surprising results people experience that you didn't expect when developing the Kineon? And maybe you would even say like it's the fertility and stuff, because I'm like, that's shocking to me.
Yeah. The fertility, we're actually taking this and we're going to release and this product works for it already, but we have a new product releasing later this year that essentially is just based on that trajectory, which is essentially treating dysmenorrhea or kind of period pain, the impacts that you see from perimenopause and menopause relative to hormones, hypothyroidism. Actually, one of the most impactful ones that we've seen. And again, none of this was on our roadmap. Again, we have myself and our research team lean male. And so it's just not something that's at kind of front of mind from an awareness standpoint. But endometriosis, we're seeing people go from an 8 and 9 out of in pain to a 2 within 20 to 25 minutes of treatment. There's no real drugs for this. There's no pharmaceuticals. So and if you have drugs for these, a lot of times it's a pain management. And so essentially what you're doing is you have this inflammation fire that's burning in the kitchen, and all you're doing with the drugs is taking the batteries out of the smoke detector. And that's not how you want to treat it. You want to get the fire and the fundamental kind of problem solved versus just taking the signal that the pain represents out. For me, that's been one of the most really kind of powerful things that we've seen. And it's just been great because all of this comes back from our community. We try to stay in as close a contact as we can with our users based on our mission. We need to measure them to know if we're succeeding. So if they're not getting the results, then we're unsuccessful in what we're doing. And so we spend a lot of time kind of back and forth with them about how they're using it and what kind of outcomes they're getting. So for me, that's the kind of that and the fertility pieces have just been kind of amazing to see. It's really exciting to kind of be able to have that positive impact in an area where we weren't really even aware of that as we started developing the product.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I can't wait to read all that research for us. Thank you for sharing that with us. One other question that I did think of that I think is worth mentioning here. There's 1 million lights on Amazon that you can get that are red light. And I feel like that it would be vital for you to share why you've either bought them and they're not working for you, you're not seeing any results, and what you should be looking for in a quality red light, as well as like maybe even, I mean, for me, I know it was a big concern about EMF with red lights that I was getting. So can you just deep dive into maybe in like a 2-minute summary of that?
No problem at all. I think, again, this goes back to what makes red light therapy effective is how well you target and dose the photon delivery system to these different photoacceptors. And what we see with panels, as an example, or bulbs, is that when you're emitting in a really broad spectrum, you don't penetrate. Either you can turn that all the way up and you can get some penetration into the internal tissue, but then you're overdosing the external tissue, which is not healthy either. Or you can find a way to balance these. And the way to balance it is you have to build in lasers. We've tested this 100 different ways, and we've modeled it thousands of different ways. And if you don't have the lasers there, the lasers have a much tighter beam and they are much more effective at dosing the internal tissue. So again, if you're trying to increase the rate of healing for a wound, my kids fall down and scrape their knees, then the panels wouldn't be as ineffective. The other downside to panels and most of the solutions that are available commercially is when you are 2 inches closer or 2 inches further back, the dosing is wildly different. And so what you'd like to look for in any product that you're buying with this is make sure it's including lasers and that it's actually emitting essentially at the skin level so that you can put it on the skin and that's how you're emitting the light. And if you're finding those two combinations, it's likely that someone has done the math necessary to be able to dose properly. Mm-hmm. But even with that, we still see, we baseline kind of every product that we see just to kind of get an idea of what expectations people could have out of those.
Yeah.
And I think I don't like to knock other people's products. It's nice to see panels and things bringing awareness to the fact that red light therapy can make a really big impact for you. But I think those are essentially manufacturing friendly products because it's easier just to strap a bunch of LEDs to a board and say, hey, here's red light.
Right.
Let's use it. And if you get a little bit of an uplift, that's great. The response you're looking for is in a biphasic dose curve, which is essentially kind of a wave function. And that just means that as you turn the power up, you get better and better results until you hit the peak of that. And then after that peak, those results start going back down. So with a panel, you have no idea where on that curve you are. Our job as a kind of what we feel like is a second generation or next generation version of a product developer in this space is targeting so specifically that you have reliable and great outcomes every time you use the device. And again, we spend a lot of time and a lot of brain power and gray cells that are way smarter than mine going to go solve this.
I love it so much. And then have you guys been, I feel like you have, so I want to ask this again, but have you guys done any testing on like the EMF output from your devices? And is that something that maybe you could just educate on a little bit?
Yes, we are less than, I think the last test we did on this was less than 1/100 of the amount of EMF that you'd see out of a phone, like a cell phone. Yes, and so we do take the time to kind of dial those down and reduce it as much as possible.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's so much environmental impacts. And we were talking about it earlier with the oxidative stress. That's whether that's microplastics or different endocrine disruptors or EMF. There's so much out there it goes back to the same thing we were saying earlier, that our parents' generation didn't really have to deal with or think about, that we need to educate ourselves about and find a way to minimize as much as possible. And we 100% do that as a company and try to support it. We actually have our head of technology as a particle physicist. And so he's kind of put together an entire white paper relative to that subject. And so I can send you a link for that as well.
That'd be so great. Yeah.
So no non-ionizing, completely safe, and EMF levels way below what would impact the physiology.
So great. Okay, so tell everybody in closing where they can find you online, where they can buy a device. And I know that my girl gang is going to be like, the thing that's coming out soon, when is that coming out? Because I need that in my house. So tell them when to expect it.
100%. So we have. You can find us at Kineon, Kineon.io. We're also Kineon_labs on Instagram. And we have if you'd like to know what people are actually getting out of the devices and what their experiences are, we have a really great Facebook group of 6,000 or 7,000 people who've signed up. Part of that is the medical professionals that we work with. We work with over 500 medical professionals who just kind of reached out and said, hey, I'd like to be able to use this in clinic and then provide it to my patients as well. So they're in there, they're answering questions. People who are having great experiences are giving feedback and protocol input on that. And then when somebody doesn't have a good experience, we've found, for example, when people are treating their knees and they don't follow the instructions and they've kept their knee flat versus bending it, you don't get access into the synovial capsule. And so that's helped us diagnose, like, we're here to solve a problem. We're not here to sell products. So we use that as a way for us to kind of keep a sense of where we're underperforming for our users. So if you want to hear what people are saying, good, bad, and different, and also be able to connect in with the medical professionals who support us as well. They're all in our Facebook group. So if you just search Kineon there and join the Facebook group, we'd love to welcome you in and answer any questions and hopefully give you more of a direct and unbiased look at what people are actually saying about the product.
I love that so much. That is so cool. Well, once I can get my device back from my husband, I can't wait to try it out. But I'm so glad you said that about the knee, because he has had it straight out on our coffee table with the device around his knee. And he still has said, like, I feel like it's helping me, but I can't wait to say, well, actually it's probably going to help you even more when you bend your knee and use it now. I just learned. So thanks for the pro tip.
No worries at all. There's two little soft patches below your patella on either side. Those give us direct access into the synovial fluid and give the best results. And we went from like a 60 to 70% positive result with the testing we were doing to over 95.
Wow.
Just by making that change.
And my dad has really bad arthritis and it'll flare in his knee sometimes. So I'm going to have to, this is a great, Father's Day just happened, but for his birthday or Christmas, this is what I need to get him for real. This was,
so I was just going to say, we did extend our Father's Day. We had a bunch of people saying, I didn't get one for my dad. Can you extend it for a couple of days? So we put the Father's Day back up for this week. We're happy. We just want to see people getting better and having a great experience with the products. If there's anything we'd ever do for that with the with your community, I'd love to support, and I'll get you through all of the supporting scientific details as well.
Yes, that'd be awesome. We love nerding out on this kind of stuff, so I'm so pumped about it. Forrest, tell everybody, I'm going to ask you a final question I ask all my guests, and that is, how do you personally reset?
I think the two things that have been most useful for me, kind of resetting, most of my resetting is towards kind of work-related stress and things like this. And so early morning, I do a cold plunge every day. And then before my training, and then midday, I do a breath work and meditation. And those have been life-changing for me. And I think, what I've seen, at least personally, is everybody's got a different kind of flavor of breath work or flavor of meditation that they like. But, if you find yours, that's been the two things that really, really just kind of give me a much clearer headspace.
I love that. My husband also loves the cold plunge. And I have to tell you that a lot of times when I do my red light is either in the morning when I'm doing my devotional or listening to worship music and getting my, mind right and spirit for the day, or I love using it in my sauna. So, and if I'm being lazy, like you said, Eric and I usually, like to wind down before we go to bed, and we'll usually watch an episode of like The Office or something like that on Netflix. And if nothing else, if I haven't gotten in like that, even sometimes on the crazy days, the first session of red light, or even some days the second session, it's usually on the couch next to him. And so, like you said, It's about that habit stacking. That's exactly what it is. So, yeah.
So excited to hear that you guys are using like that. That is exactly how you should be doing. And if you do get into the neck and gut, I'd love to hear your feedback for that. If you don't mind sending through, again, good, bad, or indifferent. We're very happy to kind of take on both positive and critical feedback if there's anything you have for it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm fascinated because I do right here every night, and so I can't wait to add on my gut and see how that goes. So you literally might have just changed my life. Who knows? Thank you so much, Forrest. What a joy. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Girl Gang, thanks so much for tuning in. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this episode with Forrest. Go check out his product. Everything is linked down below. And I know y'all are going to want to voraciously take in all that information about perimenopause, menopause, scars healing from C-sections. Like, there's just so much gold there. So do not miss the show notes on this episode. Go down there, get the discount code that I'll get from Forrest for y'all, and get red light in your life if you don't already have it. Love y'all. Have a great week. Bye.